It all began when the mother hired a new housemaid, Auntie Koko. She was from a nearby village, older, with a quiet demeanor that made the son feel uneasy right away. He didn't think much of it at first. I mean, they've had housemaids before. But something about Auntie Koko was off. She never smiled, never spoke unless asked. She would just go about her chores quietly, like a shadow. But when looking at her closely, there was something strange in her eyes, something dark. One night, the son was in the living room watching TV. Everyone else had gone to bed. Auntie Koko was in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner, or so they thought. Suddenly, the son heard whispering. It wasn't coming from the TV. It was coming from the kitchen. He stood up and crept closer to the door. He peeked in and saw her, Auntie Koko, crouched on the floor, her back to him, whispering something he couldn't understand. It didn't sound like any language he knew. Her voice was so low and fast, it sent chills down my spine. Auntie Koko, he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. She didn't stop. She just kept whispering, her head moving slightly from side to side, like she was in some kind of trance. The son backed away slowly, not sure what to do. He told himself he must have imagined it. Maybe she was just praying, he thought. But something told him that wasn't it. The next few days, more weird things started happening. The younger brother complained of nightmares. Every night, he would wake up screaming, saying he saw a woman standing at the foot of his bed, watching him. He was so scared that he refused to sleep alone. One evening, the oldest caught Auntie Koko outside in the garden, digging a small hole. It was dark, but he could see her clearly. She was muttering under her breath again, and in her hand was something shiny, one of the mother's gold bracelets. She buried it in the ground, covering it with dirt. Auntie Koko, he yelled, running toward her. She stood up straight, slowly turning to face him. Her eyes locked with his, and for a moment, he felt paralyzed. Her smile, it was so wrong, like she knew something the oldest didn't. Without a word, she walked back into the house, leaving him standing there, shaken. Members of the family, especially the mother or father, start getting sick for no apparent reason. The doctors can't find anything wrong, but their health keeps deteriorating. They feel weak, dizzy, and always have headaches. But every time Auntie Koko brings them food or tea, they seem to get worse. One evening, the oldest son finds Auntie Koko in the kitchen, stirring something strange into the mother's tea. She sees him watching, but just smiles and says, it's just herbs to help her feel better. He knows it's not just herbs. He starts finding strange objects hidden around the house. One day, while cleaning under his bed, he finds a small bundle of feathers, hair, and bones tied together with a red string. When he confronts Auntie Koko, she denies putting it there, but he had been seeing these things all over the house, under pillows, inside closets, even buried in the garden. These protect the house, she says, but the oldest son knows they are doing the opposite. He starts to feel like the house is suffocating him, like something bad is always watching from the shadows. The family has a dog. They start acting strangely around Auntie Koko. The dog, normally friendly, begins barking or growling at her whenever she's near. Then, one day, the pet disappears. The oldest son searches everywhere, but there's no sign of it. The family members, especially the parents, begin to forget important things. At first, it's small, forgetting where they placed their keys, or missing an appointment. But then it gets worse. One day, the father doesn't recognize the oldest son, his own child. He looks confused and scared, asking who he is. Whenever this happens, Auntie Koko is nearby, just watching, her expression unreadable. It feels like she's draining their memories, piece by piece. A few days later, he found something horrifying, a small mound of dirt in the backyard. He digs it up and finds the pet buried there, but something's not right. It's wrapped in a cloth, with strange markings drawn on it. The siblings start hearing strange noises at night, footsteps, scratching on the walls, whispers. One night, the oldest wakes up to see dark figures moving through the house. He can't make out their faces, but he knows they're not human. He tells his parents, but they don't believe him. The next morning, the oldest son hears Auntie Koko telling his mother about visitors that only she can see. Visitors, she says, are protecting the house. But it feels more like they're watching, waiting for something to happen. This additional event would build the tension, showing that Auntie Koko's presence is not only eerie, but dangerous, as she slowly tears the family apart. The family becomes physically weaker, emotionally drained, and mentally disoriented, all while strange supernatural occurrences start taking over the house. One Sunday morning, after weeks of strange occurrences and worsening conditions in the house, the family finally decided to go to church for deliverance. The pastor prayed over them, asking God to break any dark hold on the home. The parents, desperate and exhausted, prayed harder than the oldest had ever seen them pray before. The pastor warned the family that whatever evil spirit was in their house wouldn't leave easily, but they felt a sense of hope. When the family returned home later that afternoon, the house was eerily quiet. Auntie Koko, along with all her belongings, was gone. No note, no goodbye, nothing. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. And though the family never saw her again, the house felt lighter, as if the dark cloud that had been hovering over them had finally lifted. Dear viewer, if you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn notifications button so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.